Hey there, I'm Mr. Terry, a high school history teacher. Welcome back to another History Teacher X video. All right, I've been asking my community, what are some things maybe I could enter in the YouTube demographics to expand a little bit? This video came recommended to me. I'm hoping there's some kind of crossover I can get in with history. It's called When Animals Become Serial Killers. All right, that sounds nuts. So if you have suggestions of other types of YouTube content out there you think that I would be good in reacting and commenting on, let me know down below. Best place to get specific videos recommended to me, by the way, is our Discord server. It's linked down below. Fun place to hang out. Best place to put video suggestions. I check it every day. By the way, if you love fun, original history content, be sure to check out my new channel, Mr. Terry History Originals. We got fun stuff. Link down below. Let's get started. I feel like this video could also be called like Nature's Biggest A-Holes. What are they? And if it's not humans. All right, let's see what we got here. Warning, the following video contains graphic descriptions of some of the most brutal animal attacks in human history. All right, that's not a warning. That's like an advertisement.
The following video contains graphic descriptions of some of the most brutal animal attacks in human history. Viewer discretion and a fresh change of clothes are strongly advised.
All right, nature community. My stuff can get flagged, and it has a lot for like historical depictions of violence on film or something like that. What are the YouTube guidelines when it comes to like nature attacks? Is this going to be hard for me to like get into this demographic? All right, this should be awesome though. I love the ties to geography. I have degrees in history and geography. Let's see where we go.
Oh, and happy Halloween.
Oh, yeah, about a month ago for 3 weeks ago.
The wilderness houses some of the most dangerous wildlife found on Earth.
For sure.
But what happens when one of its most feared predators starts hunting humans? In 1898, the British government decided to build a railway spanning from a port in Mombasa to Lake Victoria.
Lions.
The project was nicknamed the Lunatic Express, since many saw it as a massive waste of time and resources, along with being unnecessarily dangerous.
Okay. Yes, I get to talk history. The British literally wanted to create a chain of colonies from Egypt all the way in the north, south, all the way to South Africa, and have colonies going all the way down to build a trans-African railroad. Now, what ends up actually being a bigger problem is, I mean, you have these logistical problems, but you have other countries, other European countries that they already have kind of beef with that also own colonies in that line, specifically Germany. You see down there, German East Africa, it's going to be Tanzania. By the way, guess where the British are going to fight in World War I to try to take? By the way, they never built their railroad, never could.
He saw it as a massive waste of time and resources, along with being unnecessarily dangerous. So dangerous that most African natives refused to be involved in construction. So the British imported thousands of laborers from India to work on the bridge. These workers are both unfamiliar with the African brush, along with all the lethal animals in it.
Very common thing here to export laborers. Now, India was a part of the British Empire at this time. So, you know, they would get moved over here. Now, in a lot of cases, unfortunately, they did not know how horrific the conditions would be. That was unfortunately a big problem.
It wouldn't be long until several workers would go missing, but at first the British government brushed them off as deserters. But as the number of missing men grew larger, soon the horrific truth would come out. A pair of mainland...
Did you hear about how that happened too when they were building all the facilities for the World Cup in Qatar? Like they brought in a lot of Indian laborers and it was so bad. Like people died and like money wasn't getting paid out. It was horrific. Okay, I think I've heard of this. Yeah, there were some lions that were like dragging them out there, killing them. Wasn't there a movie about this? Like The Heart of Darkness or something?
As the number of missing men grew larger, soon the horrific truth would come out. A pair of maneless male lions had been attacking the unsuspecting workers and eating them. Lions don't typically view humans as viable prey. Yeah. Adult lions are actually naturally wary of humans.
Right.
But lions are also incredibly adaptable, and these lions were hunting the workers like they were gazelle. While the men were working on the bridge during the day, the two lions were nowhere to be seen. It wasn't until they turned into their campsites for the night that the lions showed up. These lions would slip into the campsites undetected and drag helpless workers out of their tents to their death.
Actual footage, or actual audio. They had to edit it out. Dude, is anything worse than just getting eaten? I don't know.
In one gruesome attack, one of the lions had grabbed a well-respected and powerful sick worker and ragdolled him out of his tent, while the other workers could only listen to his bone-chilling screams of agony. The next day, his fellow workers found him, and from the position he was sitting in, it appeared as though he had survived.
Dude, look
but
at
as
that
the
photo.
men drew closer, they realized not only was he completely lifeless, but the lions had licked the skin completely off his cheeks, which formed a grisly smile. The men tried building thorn fences called bomas to keep the lions out. Unfortunately, nobody told the men that lions can leap well over 10 feet and easily clear a boma.
Dude, there's
and as the
chilling in the
attacks
trees.
and the missing men piled up, the lions started getting more confident.
Did they go hunt
At
them?
first, weeks would go by between attacks, but soon, fatal maulings would happen almost daily. And while early on, only one of the rogue males would enter the campsite at a time, soon they'd start slaughtering workers together. In one chilling incident, they had moved the site of a hospital which the lions had began targeting. They moved the hospital over a mile away and set up the new hospital as a trap for the lions. Only a day later, the lions found the new hospital and continued their carnage.
They found the new
lions
one?
even appeared to have plot armor. At one point, they had succeeded in trapping one of the male lions, but when the enraged predator started tearing the trap apart, panic-ing sepoys opened fire and missed every shot. One shot managed to spring open the trap door, allowing the lion to slip away. And as the attacks persisted, it appeared as though the lions had gone from killing to eat to just killing.
Actual
we don't know
footage
just
again.
how many lives were taken, but according to Lieutenant John
Not even
Patterson,
eating him?
up to 135 men were lost by the time.
Ghost in the Darkness. That's it. Yeah, they named it. There's a movie about this. Maybe like the 90s. All right, so I'm not an animal biologist, but there's probably a more logical reason, right, why this was happening. Correct me if I'm wrong, but were they in like, lands that were just like very secured homelands of the lion? So they definitely felt the people here were a very invasive thing, like they're protecting their hood here. Like this is their land. Also, was there a drought or something that was maybe causing like starvation? So they were like extra hungry, right? Like, is there some other explanations like that? Yeah, Ghost in the Darkness, right? They each had a name. There was like these two, right? Yeah.
Construction and the lions were finished. And we don't know for sure what led these lions to go on a human hunting spree. One of the lions was found to have an abscess in his teeth, causing a painful infection that may have been too debilitating to hunt his usual prey, forcing him to seek out easier targets.
Yeah, easier were the easy ones.
That in the past,
I mean, it makes sense though. Like it's some gazelle out on the savannah. That's the thing about you got to like with like evolution of animals, and in Africa, a place that has had so many species and such a long history, right, of so many of them. And it's like the animals that existed today have come through, millennia, billions of years, whatever, of competition, and have all developed such good survival skills to be able to even have their species survive this long. So why so many of the animals, that come from this part of Africa are undomesticatable. This is some history stuff for you, because they developed in a place where there were so many predators that they're too flighty, too scared, right? Too reactionary to be able to actually be tamed and controlled like by humans. Like a zebra, for example, which could be like this amazing animal that could be like a horse. But since it's developed here in Africa with so many more predators, it just lend itself to be such a flighty, scared creature. Okay, we're heading out to Camel Land. Are camels part of this?
Forcing him to seek out easier targets. One theory is that in the past, Arab slave trade caravans would run through Tsavo, and men that would have made no money on the market, like the old, injured, sick, or dying, would just be tossed out into the brush. It's possible that these lions of Tsavo were fed by these crimes against humanity and learned that humans as a food option is never completely off the table.
Okay, that has a history. I love that. Love to add in the history. Yeah, the Arab slave trade was such a massive thing for centuries. So they come out from the Arab north, come down to sub-Saharan African places. Part of their culture was you don't enslave other Africans. So they were enslaving other Muslims. And they would go to these sub-Saharan territories in certain parts of Africa and directly target those people. Take them up, and they would get traded to different parts of like Mesopotamia, Persia, even sent out across kind of the Indian Ocean trade networks out to places like India. Did that for centuries. But that's why they're going so far south there to go engage in the slave trade there. It's cultural aspects, and a market in sub-Saharan Africa to enslave other Africans to sell to those slave traders. But yes, if they run away or they're too injured, just dumping them off and they're becoming like almost like a viable food source. I guess that would make sense too. But it seems like that would have to happen to such a huge like volume for that to become part of their like evolution for these lions. So I don't know. Interesting. Great throwback to history though. Okay, what do we got next?
In July 1945, a U.S. Navy heavy cruiser delivered uranium to the island of Tinian for what would end up being the world's first nuclear weapon used in war, which would be dropped in Hiroshima, Japan. Japan would get its revenge when a torpedo struck the USS Indianapolis as it was en route to the Philippines.
Oh my God, if you don't know this story, get prepared to like never want to step foot in the ocean again.
In only 12 minutes, the imposing military cruiser was underwater, along with anyone unlucky enough to escape in time. Although, considering what would happen, maybe they were the lucky ones.
Did you catch that, by the way, which is an interesting thing? It was the ship used to deliver the materials for the atomic bomb, basically delivering that massive weapon. Japanese end up sinking it. What does that do with animals?
Because as the stranded crew floated adrift in the Philippine Gulf, they quickly realized they had a major problem. Sharks, likely oceanic whitetips, were stalking the hapless sailors. At first, the sharks simply cleaned up the casualties, feeding on the bodies of the deceased. But soon, they turned their attention to the survivors. As much as the sailors tried to float together, invariably, someone would drift away from the group, and that's when the patient sharks would move in. According to survivors, the men would thrash around and scream hysterically before being pulled under. And only a short while later, a life jacket would resurface, and nothing else.
Okay, so question here for you guys. If you had to get eaten or attacked by an animal, would you rather be a lion or a shark? I think a lion. Because at least I'm on the ground and I feel like maybe I could maneuver myself well. You're not doing anything in the ocean. You're in their territory, right? And they know, sharks know also you like can't breathe. You can suffocate, so they could bring you down, make you suffocate, let alone just rip you to shreds. And this isn't a night, by the way. Like you couldn't even see like what was going on. Just all of a sudden, guys are just like disappearing under the water level as you're trying to float to survive.
As the dehydration, intense exposure, and saltwater poisoning took its toll, some men would hallucinate that they were being rescued and would swim away from the group towards a ship that wasn't there, not realizing they were paddling towards their own death. Even worse, some of the men would become delirious and start attacking their fellow shipmates, forcing them to literally cast them off towards the sharks. This living nightmare lasted 5 days, and when salvation finally came, only 317 out of the 1,196 men could be accounted for. But the psychological torture didn't end there for some of them. Captain Charles B. McVeigh would become the first captain to ever be court-martialed for losing his ship, and the reasoning was because he didn't zigzag. Even Commander Hashimoto, the guy...
Now, I think, I'll rewind a few seconds. I believe he survived, obviously, and he got... get treated so bad because you had this idea, like the captain goes down with the ship, but like all the family members, I guess, were just for years, I guess, just like sending these horrifying messages because they, hear about what happened with their loved ones.
And the reasoning was because he didn't zigzag. Even Commander Hashimoto, the guy that sunk his ship, testified that there was nothing McVeigh could have done, but it didn't matter. America had its scapegoat, and it was him. McVeigh regularly...
Well, yeah, for the Japanese guy, they want to say like, no, we had such a good attack. There's no way they could have got it, could have got out. Otherwise, it makes you look bad. Like all you had to do is zigzag and our operation would be bad. Like the Japanese guy's not going to say that, of course, but
it didn't matter. America had its scapegoat, and it was him. McVeigh regularly received hate mail and threats of violence from the family of the fallen. In 2000, he would be exonerated and found to have committed no wrongdoing. But not before the harassment and crippling survivors.
Didn't he commit suicide? Didn't he do that because he couldn't take it anymore?
Guilt would break him. On November 6th, 1968, the captain that had survived war, man-eating sharks, and dehydration took his own life while holding a toy sailor he had been given as a boy for good luck. The true monsters of this story weren't the sharks.
They were the humans. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Should it have been a captain goes down with his ship kind of thing and does, I don't know. The ethics of it all or whatever. And Were all the families in the wrong for attacking him the way that they did? What do you guys think? I feel like you could argue so many different ways with that for that captain. By the way, doesn't that come up in the movie Jaws? I've been talking with family about that and wanting to watch that again recently, but on like a monster movie, I don't know, kick right now. But don't they bring that up? Like one of them's a survivor of it or something. One of the people talking about sharks. All right, what's next? This is great so far. This has been awesome. And I love the history ties.
The most dangerous bear in the world isn't the grizzly bear or even the polar bear,
black bear?
But it's widely considered to be the sloth bear. Because where adult grizzlies and polar bears have no natural predators,
I didn't even know that.
Sloth bears regularly run fades with tigers and leopards.
I'm not going to lie. I had no idea bears really existed in a place where they had these type of tigers in Geography. So like a mix of a sloth and a bear. So they're going to be extra fighty for that same reason we were talking about how if you you evolve or whatever and your species grows within a place with incredible predators to survive, you're going to have to have incredible survival skills. Fight or flight. You're going to be really good fighting or really good at being flighty, running away.
Have no natural predators. Sloth bears regularly run fades with tigers and leopards. That generational trauma means you have an animal that has all the tools of a predator, but the mindset of prey. And that makes them terrifyingly unpredictable.
Could a bear take out a tiger?
The fact that habitat loss and encroachment causes them to come into constant contact with humans only makes it 10 times worse.
These are scary looking, man. This is the scariest bear species. I didn't know these existed. This is way scary. Like other bears, they can like kind of be cute, even if they're big, you know, but like this thing is just like from hell.
The sloth bear of Mysore was infamous for unaliving 12 people and severely injuring another 24. Armed with wolverine claws and a devastating bite, sloth bears have a
look at those. Do bears have that? No, like grizzlies and black bears. Do they have those type of teeth? I feel like I don't recognize that.
Another 24. Armed with wolverine claws and a devastating bite, sloth bears have a nasty habit of attacking the faces of their victims. Those that survived often lost an eye or a nose or had a chunk of their cheek ripped off.
They don't go for the jugular?
Those that didn't survive often had their faces torn off completely. Right. In some cases, the bear ate the bodies of its victims. A far cry from the insects and fruits as Baloo of the jungle usually eats.
Yeah.
Other bodies recovered had hands missing, and in some cases their entire chest cavity ripped open.
Panting, it just looks, they're evil, man.
Some describe the horrific injuries as being the work of an animal with the intent, but not necessarily the knowledge to kill. Kenneth Anderson had attempted to hunt the bear while also saving a man who had been mauled to the point of sheer incapacitation. As Anderson tried carrying the man to safety, it got dark fast, which was probably why he didn't see the rock that tripped him and caused him to break his ankle. The immobilized Anderson survived the night, but the man he tried to save didn't. Anderson would be the one to put the murderous bear out of commission, but we still don't know what made this usually termite-eating bear go full Jeff Dahmer. Maybe it was revenge for a previous attack or a lost cub.
They have an interesting head. Their head's very like wide. You know, bears are mostly kind of like forward. It looked like if Stewie Griffin was a bear and even more evil. Maybe like the early Stewies when he was just trying to kill Lois for some reason.
Maybe everyone has a limit and that bear hit his.
The other one is you got to be aware of is cocaine bears. You ever seen that movie? We were just talking about that, brother and I. And then I was looking up that movie, you know, Cocaine Bear. Pretty wild. But then I saw there was a bunch of other ones like that. It was like Cocaine Shark. One of them was like meth something, meth turtle, or I don't know. It was like a whole line of movies of animals that were getting drugs and then go crazy. All right, what we got next?
The next story takes place on Ramri Island, off the coast of Myanmar, which borders China, Bangladesh, and India.
Southeast
Asia. In 1945, the British pulled up with the intention of establishing a new air base, but first had to contend with the Japanese Imperial Army, which had already captured the island. The British flanked the Japanese, who, rather than surrender, opted to try to escape by cutting through miles of dense, boggy, uncharted mangroves. As they did, the British circled the mangrove swamp, essentially stranding the men to unforgiving terrain. Venomous snakes, spiders, and disease-carrying mosquitoes were almost an afterthought after the men realized they had waded directly into saltwater crocodile territory. The details of what happened next have been debated for years. Many say that the up to 20-foot-long crocs converged on the defensive.
Dude, crocodiles are scary. They're scarier than alligators. Aren't alligators or crocodiles, are they like more dangerous, especially to humans? But they got like the more like pointy snout, right? Are they bigger too? Remember it? But they're scary. They're straight up dinosaurs.
Defenseless soldiers, first picking off the ones that had already passed tense before moving on to the struggling and infirm. One British soldier described hearing 3 distinct sounds: the incessant firing of rifles overhead, the erratic splashing of excited crocodiles, and the blood-curdling cries of the men being dismembered and devoured alive. According to him, the sounds were deafening. Some men sought to take cover in the trees only a couple feet above the marauding reptiles when they made a horrific discovery. Crocs can easily launch themselves several feet out of the water, and the men that hadn't climbed high enough were caught in those snare trap jaws and torn to shreds.
I don't like that, although some of these other animals they've shown are very like slow, or not slow, they're very fast and that kind of thing. But like they're like gators, crocodiles, whatever, they just sit there, like they don't even move. You don't even know they're there. And then just all of a sudden just they go crazy. I don't like the real sudden ones, like animals that are jumpy. Spiders, probably why I hate spiders so much. They just sit there, then they just freak out. I don't like that.
Another chilling realization was the intelligence of the cold-blooded predator.
Oh, really?
According to multiple sources, the crocs would use their tails as battering rams to slam against the base of the trees, hoping to knock loose a prize like a twisted human piñata. Like African crocodiles camping in rivers during great migrations, these crocodiles seem perfectly content to bide their time.
I think, don't they, with those animals too, they pull them into the water and drown them. They know that they'll die from drowning.
We have no way of knowing exactly how many lives were lost on that island, but we do know it was very likely in the several hundreds. We also have no way to confirm just how many were taken by the crocodiles and how many simply flatlined to dehydration, sickness, other wildlife, or simply casualties of war. However,
are crocodile deaths one of those things where it's like always way more surprising? Like it's either surprising how few people they actually kill, or it's one of those things that they kill a lot more than you think. Like, which one is it?
This is widely considered to be the most lethal crocodile attack in human history. And since saltwater crocodiles are capable of living 70 plus years, the chances that at least one of those same crocodiles are still there are low.
Oh no.
But they're not zero.
Plus the one that took Chubbs Peterson's hand. Happy Gilmore. He's in Florida though. All right.
Crocodiles are one of the most stubbornly resilient things on Earth. They've been around for about 200 million years and have barely changed. And with a wide-ranging diet and few, if any, natural predators, crocs can live virtually anywhere there's warmth and water.
Do you know what else I've heard has just not changed? Like just like their DNA is just like impervious to mutation. I think I heard is raccoons, which would explain how, how they're like they have a lot of dexterity. You're seeing like how good they are at their hands. They have a lot of dexterity. And it's just like for them to improve, dexterity is like the one thing they could kind of like keep evolving and keep getting better at, because nothing else in their body is really changing to help them. So they have all that dexterity. I thought I heard that before.
So it makes sense that one of the most infamous animal serial killers of all time was a crocodile. Gustav was an 18-foot reptilian Ted Bundy, rumored to have been responsible for up to 300 names missing from the census. According to legend, the massive Nile predator was too bulky to hunt the typical fish, antelope, and zebra, leading him to go after bigger, tougher game like hippos, buffalo, and even humans.
Now, hippos are one of those animals I have heard are way deadlier than like people think. Like, do not go near them. They're very ornery and they will like F you up.
The Burundi butcher would allegedly hunt anything that came into its line of sight without prejudice. And like all crocs, his favorite method of hunting would have likely been lying in wait in the water before exploding and unleashing a 3,000-pound bite force to crush whatever was unlucky enough to get caught in its jaws, before using the infamous death roll to shred their victim into bite-sized chunks. It's likely most human casualties were adults collecting water and children playing in the shallow end, not realizing the disturbance was basically ringing the dinner bell.
Don't go in the Nile, by the way.
Gustav was also disturbingly indestructible, with several eyewitnesses describing what they swore were bullet wounds tattooed across its armored skin. But the eeriest part was that for a monster nearly the length of a bus, Gustav was unexplainably never caught.
I like that he has a name.
Researchers placed a live goat in a cage as bait to lure the beast out.
Dude, look at that.
After a storm, the next morning the cage was empty, but Gustav was nowhere to be found. We don't know how old he is, how long he had been hunting humans, just how many people had been lost to him, or even if he's still alive. There were some reports of Gustav having been shot by a hunter in 2019, but with no photographic evidence, there's still a chance that he's out there prowling the rivers of Burundi. The way I see it, there's only 3 possible options. 1, he's dead. 2, he's still out there serving as unethical population control. Or 3, he has NordVPN. Because NordVPN creates an encrypted tunnel for you and your data and protects your identity by hiding your IP address, allowing you to go off the grid untrackable and untraceable, just like Gustav. And like Crocs, who can be found almost anywhere, NordVPN gives you the option to connect to thousands of different servers across countries all over.
They actually think he's in like Florida now. If you want to enjoy the perks of Australian
entertainment without also entertaining the wildlife, Australian servers are just a click away. And unlike the allegedly 2,000-pound Gustav, with fast, reliable servers, you never have to feel like you sold your speed for security. With NordVPN's threat protection, you can enjoy your internet experience without also being plagued by ads, trackers, and malware. So to get the most out of your streaming service, go to nordvpn.com/casualgeographic for a huge discount on a 2-year plan with an additional 4 months free. With Nord's money-back guarantee, it's virtually risk-free. Nothing about Gustav was risk-free. And with Salties having the strongest recorded bite force of any animal, the only guarantee was that anything caught in those vice grip jaws was something you're not getting back.
Gosh, look at those things, man. All right. Nature's scary, man. We just gotta like leave the animals alone.
Locals in Malawi were so terrified of one animal that it drove 4,000 of them to completely abandon their villages to seek refuge. The marauding beast had mauled 3 people into chalk outlines and severely disfigured another 16. Those that survived were essentially crippled for life, with some missing both hands and legs, with others missing eyes and ears. In one gruesome attack, a woman had gotten her jaw completely detached. The mysterious assailant was so feared and avoided capture for so long that some believe that the attacks were the work of a supernatural creature. In truth, these people were being stalked and hunted by a rabid hyena. Although they're armed with arguably the most devastating bite of any land mammal, hyenas are actually...
This seems like... I gotta go back because maybe he's saying something, but like hyenas, right? They're so gross and ugly and stuff. Are they one of those animals though that's like important for like the balance of life? Like they keep certain populations that would be really bad species if they just like overpopulated. Is there some kind of ecological benefit to these guys? Otherwise, can we just like get rid of them?
Actually wary of humans, but as many will tell you, anything that gets rabies quickly becomes a different kind of animal, especially when that animal has jaws strong enough to amputate an elephant.
Yo, what? Did they take it down? Was it already dead? It was probably already dead because they're basically scavengers. I mean, they hunt in big packs, but isn't that one of their things too? Just, man, dude, I love elephants. Elephants are so cool. They're like aliens, man. So smart, basically people, alien people.
The rabid hyena terrorized the people of Malawi for weeks, but whether the actual animal responsible for the maimings was caught and killed,
aren't they usually in like in groups? Got next. About done.
The most infamous animal mass murderer of all time lived in Nepal in the Champawat district of India. The Bengal tiger of Champawat was believed to be responsible for 436 less people on Earth.
See, I don't want my like predator or like the scariest animals to also be beautiful. Like that is beautiful. Look at those animals. Like all the other ones are all hideous abominations, you know, these other ones we've seen, but that's just like beautiful. I don't want that. I want the pretty animals to be nice.
According to research, the carnage started in Nepal, but when hunters were called in, the tiger successfully evaded all of them. Eventually, she was driven out of the area and swam across a river and invaded India, where the attacks only got worse. The homicidal big cat would typically target young women and children and would often travel up to 20 miles following a kill, making it that much harder to capture her. And unlike most tigers, who typically hunt during dusk or dawn,
she's the girl boss.
Man-eater at Champawat almost exclusively caught bodies during broad daylight. She became so reviled that locals no longer referred to her as a cat, but as the devil of India.
Oh, dang. Getting 8, man. What's scarier, tigers or lions, you think?
Tigers' reverberating roar paralyzed entire villages, with grown men refusing to leave their huts to go to work, lest a rampaging predator turned them into a statistic.
Those teeth.
It was believed that the tigress had been shot by an especially cruel hunter, which broke several of her canine teeth, leaving her mortally wounded.
So that's like the thing too, though, is okay, they're dangerous or whatever, but like I also don't want them to die. Like, can't we just each chill? Is that why she's so mad though? Because in her head, she's like, humans are bad. They'd hurt me.
An especially cruel hunter, which broke several of her canine teeth, leaving her mortally wounded.
That could be responsible for a lot of these.
Injury, along with the fact that tigers are one of the few animals that'll actively seek revenge, that drove the tiger to eventually start seeking out easier prey.
Wow. Have you ever heard of that too? What was it, like monkeys or like something? Chimps or something that like somebody had hurt or like killed one of them, and then their whole like village of monkeys or whatever. Oh, it was dogs. Okay, wasn't it something like a dog or something had attacked like a monkey? Maybe he'd killed it. And then like the whole population of the monkeys went after like every dog they could find and were killing them all. Wasn't there something like that, like a revenge thing from the whole community? Is that true? I want to say it was. I forgot where I heard it though.
And as a highly intelligent predator, she was constantly adapting and able to consistently avoid capture. When she was finally taken down, it was clear from the nasty injuries the tiger had sustained that she was not the villain of this story. That doesn't change the fact that she went out as the most prolific man-murker in nature.
They made her evil. You're safe
because you don't live in Asia. Just keep in mind that there are more tigers in the United States than in the rest of the world combined.
That's because people freaking import them, and there's just loose laws about that. I'm sorry, but people should not own tigers. Not just like that. Like professionals, okay, they're in a zoo, which, zoos already have their ethical problems, but you know what I mean? But should people that just have them, Tiger King kind of stuff, like, no. It needs to be very limited. They're not pets. But apparently you can do that. Okay. Final thoughts. All right. So that was awesome to check out. That was also very disturbing. I don't know if I shouted out the channel, by the way. This is Casual Geographic. Super cool. And yeah, those stories were wild. And I was so happy to be able to like share some history with you guys. And hopefully that was kind of helpful to understand the context of where some of these infamous things were taking place. But anyways, I really enjoyed that. If you'd like me to cover more stuff that's kind of like history adjacent, maybe, or maybe totally random, let me know. All right, again, looking for something fun to watch next, check out Mr. Terry History Originals. I think you'll find something you like. See you next time.